So we have in Ifa Egbes from the Legion Egbe, meaning the group, heart of the group. The Egbe implies everybody who's alive in your community who has the same Orisha, and everybody who ever lived that had that Orisha. So there's a head and a heart, and then a present and an ancestral component to the idea of Egbe. The nearest translation in English would be society or group. So in traditional Yoruba culture, everybody with the same Orisha or the same light filter that influences their consciousness meet together to share and talk about and to understand and experience the wisdom of that Orisha as a way of making it easier to get through the day, easier to understand who they are, easier to understand one another as mirrors of each other, and I would say more importantly to understand what the obligation of particular character types are within the function of the village. So for example, Obatala, the carriers of the white light of Orisha that connects through the top of the head, Obatalas as Orisha priests who are connected to the entire spectrum of our chakras tend to weigh and balance things and want to understand and consider things carefully. So they tend to have a communal function of being arbitrators of dispute, judges in the traditional court of Ologbon, and also people who pray for peace and tranquility. So we move down to the Iwaju right here. This is in Western occult traditions called the third eye. In Egypt it's called the mystic eye. In Yoruba it's called Ilaran Ipin, witness to creation. The third eye is the seat of a number of different spiritual forces. Fundamentally it's Eshu's ability to communicate to nature. Eshu sits in the third eye and the back of the neck as a polarity between connection to spirit and connection to illusion. That's why Eshu is sometimes referred to as the trickster. When we look at spiritual information, it appears in our consciousness the same way that illusion or fantasy does. And it's our job as people on the spiritual path to understand the manifestation of Eshu as communicating with spirit and Eshu as a provider of illusion and deception. So in the folklore, Eshu is typically referred to as one who lives at the crossroads. The crossroads is the connection between the head and the heart that occurs at the shoulders. The back of the neck is the place where the head and the heart join. That's the place that's clean with the abori. It goes all the way down to the back of the neck so that the ori can stay in clear connection with the heart, our emotions. The ability to become a good medium is predicated on the ability for the head and the heart to be in perfect alignment. When they're not in alignment, we become in conflict with ourselves. That causes tension in our body. That tension tends to clog the chakras and make connection to the Orisha difficult. So the first step in any ritual is to invoke Eshu, because we're essentially asking the head and the heart to be in perfect alignment, which is a key aspect of the mystery of Ori, because Ifa teaches that we're all born Omo Rere, which means child of the eternal goodness, or children of innocence. Omo meaning child, Rere from the Elysian, Ire, meaning eternal source of good fortune. So because we're born essentially good people, as we grow up and mature and develop in the world, sometimes we fear to do the right thing, and that causes internal conflict between the head and the heart. When the head and the heart are in conflict, the road between the head and the heart is blocked, and we limit our ability to access the altered states that are commonly called possession or altered states of consciousness. Possession in Yoruba is the word Elegun, from the Elysian E-Ile Ogun, E-Ile Ogun, meaning I am the house of medicine. The medicine referred to here is not the medicine to necessarily fix physical illness, but the medicine to fix all things through direct linking to the immortals in heaven. So Ori as a concept is really fundamental. So it's fundamental in this way. Ori integrates our life experience, and it allows us to understand the lessons that are brought to us through divination. Every Odu of Ifa is a lesson, and when we internalize the lesson, we receive the blessing of higher or expanded consciousness. Ori is seen as having physical space in the world, so as we become older and more mature, our aura, or our ability to project our consciousness, or our ability to sit in the world expands physically as we become older and wiser. And in fact, when you do initiations, you have a responsibility to see the aura of the Yawo, or the initiate, at the beginning of the ceremony, and then to see the aura of the Yawo at the end of the ceremony. And if you have done your job, that Ori, the aura of the Ori, or the light of the Ori, Ala Ori, should be bigger than at the end of the ritual than it was when you started. For those that have not experienced seeing the aura is typically anywhere from a ½ inch to maybe 8 inches above the head. It doesn't present itself clearly unless you know what to look for. My aura right now is about here, so if you look beneath my finger, everything behind my head is blurred from there down. So when you see the place of blurring, and where that ends is, and you see clearly, that's the point that marks the edge of your aura at any given moment. So you want that light coming from the Ori to expand in the course of initiation, which is the objective test. The initiation has been effective. So I also believe that Ifa, and the indigenous religion of Yoruba culture, is profoundly perceptive with regard to analyzing the components of Ori. You know, historians will tell us that Ori was, or consciousness was first analyzed by psychologists, in particular Freud, Jung, Adler, and a number of people who worked in Germany in the 30s. The truth is, all the concepts that they came up have a precedent in traditional African culture all over the continent, and certainly is very, very clearly expressed in the metaphysical concepts related to Ori that is found in Odu Ifan and the teachings of the elders of Ifa in Nigeria.